Welcome into Missing the Point. We're doing the NPR version of Missing the Point this week. We're going to do really soft, dulcet tones for one
Trying to
another. No, we're
trying
not.
to
We're going
keep
to
me
talk
calm.
about
Trying to keep me calm
football.
over
We're going to
here.
talk about poor Bobby's poor last weekend.
Oh my
We're going to
god.
look to the future. We're going to look to the past. We're going to look inside ourselves and see if our dreams will last. We will forever be football fans, ladies and gentlemen. And I think this last weekend and the product that they put on is why I just had so much fun watching this divisional round. Robert, Mr. Kelly, my co-host, the only one here with me this week. But I think as a tandem, as a twosome, we're going to do a pretty good job of guiding you through what's already happened, what is happening, and what is to come. Bobby, I'm gonna do you a huge favor.
Are we
And
starting with it?
the favor I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start with the Cowboys Niners game because
All right.
as much as maybe it's conventional wisdom to think that the Cowboys are going to lose in the divisional round or they're going to lose in the wild card round or that, whatever they're going to do, whatever they normally do, I do think that longtime listeners of the show will know I have been riding with you on the Cowboys this year because I love ballers, as you know, like the idea of like hating a franchise because of their like geographic location or the colors they wear is silly to me. Like, yeah, like do I hate my divisional rivals? Sure, that's easy. But as far as like hating the Cowboys goes, it's like I don't know, they don't really affect me too much in the negative. And when I like a lot of their players, I like a lot of their players. I've told you this all year. I love a lot of the guys on your defense as much as Diggs pissed me off towards the end. I love him when he's on. I love Tony Pollard, even though we're probably not going to see him in Dallas next season, considering the financial implications of Zeke's contract still. But I have to tell you, man, I could after last weekend, and I'm surprised it didn't happen sooner, but I do think it feels like a watershed for most people. I don't think I'm the only, I don't think this is a hot take. I think this is sort of universally decided this last weekend based on performance. Dak's a fucking bum, dude. He's a bum. He's
Yeah.
black Kirk Cousins. That's what he is.
Yeah. I
And
don't.
at the end of the day, I think that the more that you flatter to deceive yourself with him, the more pain you're going to go through. Him and Zeke as a package, the hype that they brought in and the contracts they were given are essentially about to round the corner on crippling your franchise to any success. Every time it's and like I'm not saying this to make you feel bad. I think you should be pissed off. I think you should be angry that Dak Prescott is getting paid that much money. He's got that much talent, but he's so mentally fucking weak that when the going gets tough and he's in a position to win a game, he
Yeah.
can't do it. He throws a fucking duck. So tell me how you're feeling.
Yeah. I mean, listen. So every red flag that was the Cowboys this past season kind of came to fruition in this past game. It was like the ensemble of Cowboys fuck ups for the season, all
Boy,
in one
fucking
game,
you
man.
you said a mouthful there, brother.
It really was, and I think the most telling part was I have one of my best friends is a Cowboys fan. We were texting back and forth, um,
I
and
thought I was your best friend.
I'm sorry.
What are the listeners at home gonna think?
Listen,
I wanted them to
my
think
all
we
right,
only knew each
my
other.
my Cowboys best friend. All
Oh
right,
gosh.
is that better? Is that my
Okay.
Cowboys best friend? Okay.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
once Pollard went out, right? That was really
That
Pollard.
was
Pollard.
that
Pollard.
was the beginning of the end.
Yeah, he was our most electric person on the field all year. He really is what drove that offense as much as CD did. Pollard just gave us a different change of pace and such
And
a
can I just say
playmaker out of the
before you
backfield.
continue, I want you to write out on this one, but there's no better indicator and litmus test of who a good running back is than when there's two guys and one is doing better than the other because they got the same blocking,
It's
they're running the
so
same
yeah,
plays, but like one guy's just better than the other. Like you can have a situation where, oh fuck, like for example in Chicago, it's like Matt Forte is like running really really well for a while, but then like we lose him and it turns out we just had some good blockers, right?
yeah,
Like
yeah.
right now same situation. Oh, it's the blocking scheme. That's what's happening. Like we have really good run blockers, and like that's what's happening. I've seen it happen with team after team after team. The Pittsburgh Steelers have been doing it for years. They've been shipping off expensive running backs to other teams that don't do as well.
Broncos in the mid 2000s.
Right. And it's like, oh, it turns out they're just scheming the run really well, and the blocking is really good, and anyone can do it. The Cowboys is not that. It's the opposite of that. It's Tony Pollard is factually better than
Yeah.
Ezekiel Elliott at running fucking ball. That's just clear.
There was a couple of separate plays where there would be a hole, right? And Pollard breaks that run for 15 to 20 yards, and Zeke would get 4, 5. He's just so slow.
He looks
Man.
he
He's
looks
so slow.
he looks like very
Fat,
regular, very regular. He
fat.
looks like a regular guy. He looks like one of us trying to hit a
Yeah,
hole. You
man.
know what I mean? Like,
It's saddening from where he was. But wait,
yeah.
so back to where we were. So Pollard goes out, right? And I text my buddy. I'm like, listen, this game is on Dak. This is Dak's legacy game.
It was
Like
always gonna be.
if we're gonna win this game, it's because of Dak Prescott. And you know what he texted me back? Ugh. That's all he said. One word, UGH. That's it. And that's really all you need to know about who Dak Prescott is. You know what I mean? That's it, man. And it's like, listen, he has moments where he looks like a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. And there's no doubt about that. He absolutely has those moments. But there's such a peak and valley with this dude that just it irks my brain so hard because he makes throws some games where you're like, that's my guy, that's my quarterback. And then the next game, the best example I can give you is that interception right after the
I think
Pollard
that was him in a
injury.
nutshell. I
That
really think that was him in a
bro,
nutshell.
it's you're within the 20, right? Lamb's open, and if you put that ball right in his chest, that's a completion and a first down. We might score a touchdown and win that game, but you don't. It's 3 feet to the right of him. 49er gets the hand on the ball, picked. 49ers go ahead at half. And that's the season.
He also
right there.
like
You know what I mean? Like we
don't you
weren't coming
feel
back
like
at that point.
don't you feel like so basketball, right? Like we do basketball shows here as well. A lot of people that like football, like basketball. So like, hope I don't lose too many people with this reference. But if you're clutch in a basketball game, in the closing minutes when the game is close, your vision makes the basket look enormous to you because you're
Right.
clutch. You're there's ice in your veins. If not, if you're panicking, if you've gotten in your own head and you're getting in your own way, you're looking through a pinhole, right? You're like that. Your vision is tiny. That's what was happening to Dak because how could he not see that coverage?
Yeah.
How could he not see that coverage? Like all that defensive back had to do was step up and catch the ball because Dak's vision was so limited in that game. Like he wasn't seeing open guys. He wasn't seeing very clear defensive backs that are going to make a play on the ball. And quite frankly, Bob, it's so clear when safeties and corners and linebackers are happy who's throwing the ball. Like you could tell that the 49ers secondary was like, let's make this motherfucker beat us because that's not happening. And when that starts, you're like, oh shit. Like it's such a game of momentum in that sense, don't you think? Like you could just tell they were having fun that it was Dak dropping back and he was not responding with any sort of fuck that. Like just like let's make this work. Let's make this work. Plus, good God, the goddamn coaching decisions towards the end, like the plays they were running, like the game was a game until the last possession. Essentially, I mean, it was dwindling by that point, but the percentages weren't zero.
I mean,
and at least give yourself a chance. Like
the punt on, I think it was 4th and 6.
Oh, and even San Francisco made a
2 minutes
mistake.
left with like
San Francisco made a mistake. They gave you guys the opportunity. They gave you guys the opportunity by not running out of bounds, right? And it's like that's the thing that kills teams. Like when a mistake like that happens, that's when it's like, oh, blood in the water. And then no, you can't take advantage. Why? Because you're punting early. You're designing middle of the field throws when you have the clock against you. You're
not dragging that second.
You're not dragging second feet. Experienced wide receivers not dragging their second foot. I mean, it's just that to me isn't individual mistakes. That's bad. It's a badly run system.
Yeah.
Products of a badly run system. And I think what's unfortunate, and it's true, it's a reality, as we talked about this, is if it didn't happen this year, you got to start over. You got to start over.
But the thing is, like, it's not. They're not going to. Not this year, at least. That's
the purgatory, right? It's the purgatory of like being a good 100%. Team, not a great team, a good team, not bad enough to start over. It's such a bad spot to be.
Listen, if they go out and they make some moves and they get a second wide receiver, a legit one like a Brandon Cooks or something like that, like I could see us making noise. But it's just it all comes back to that same thing that like next year, right? We could absolutely be one of the better teams in the NFL. We could literally have this same exact progression happen because Dan Quinn's coming back. You know what I mean? Like the squad's coming back next year, man. And it just gets to a point now where it's like it's such a make or break year for Dak Prescott. And I am so far towards the break part at this point where
I think
it's
it's
like
done, dude. I think it's done. I think it's clear.
he's got to show me at this point. That's where it comes down to, where it's like if there's any hiccups in the system next year where Dak looks like this again, bro, what are we doing here? That's what it comes to, is like we're destined for another divisional loss next year. Like we can go through all this bullshit again, and it's just gonna end in the same exact place.
Yeah, and I think you were well within your rights to be happy that you won that wild card game, because I think winning a game in the playoffs is obviously an achievement for this franchise at this point. And I'm not trying to be mean. I just think that's the reality of the
We did
situation.
that a few years ago. Same exact thing. Seattle. Remember? We played Seattle.
That was the 9-8 Bucks.
Dak looked awesome.
Yeah.
And then we sucked against the Rams.
Yeah, but I mean the 9-8 Bucks, you could have put Cooper Rush out there. If in retrospect, I know hindsight's 2020, but like you could have put Cooper Rush out there. It would have made a fucking difference. Now, Tony Pollard, to me, is the litmus test for how this franchise is being run.
Agreed.
Say what you will. You and I have had our worst arguments since we've known each other about the Pittsburgh Steelers and like whether or not they're good and whether or not they're well run. Say what you will about them. They make the right personnel decisions, like in relation to contract demands, so much better than so many other regular NFL teams. They send away what are becoming expensive running backs because they know how to draft skill positions. To me, it's very clear that you have to incentivize a team to take on Ezekiel Elliott's contract from you. Like this seems like a no-brainer for the Dallas Cowboys. You need to incentivize a team to take that contract off your hands. And what I mean by that is you need to give them something that makes it worth their while to take that dead weight onto their team.
Like the NBA trade where you give them
like an NBA trade, exactly like that.
Yeah.
You go to the Houston Texans, you go to the Las Vegas Raiders if they don't get Brady, you go to any number of the Jets. You say, okay, listen, we'll give you 2 second-round picks and Ezekiel Elliott for nothing. We'll give you a late first rounder. Your first rounder is probably not worth that much. And Zeke for a second rounder and a third rounder or something. You help them move up the draft so that they can plan 3 to 5 out and they see out that contract. And Ezekiel Elliott just wastes away in somewhere where we don't have to talk about him ever again. You don't pay running backs that money. You just don't do it.
It's what's so sad is like it's not even like he's an average running back anymore, because he's not, man. He is. If I have a theory that like, so there's a whole thing that he might restructure to stay here, really, really revamp that contract.
That'd be a big restructure.
Big restructure. However, if he gets cut by the Cowboys, right, and he doesn't come back, I think he's unemployed next year, man. There's not one. Why?
Oh yeah.
Watching the tape that you saw from Ezekiel,
how many running backs are there? There's so many.
You can't.
There's so many good ones.
He is the epitome. I said this so many times to you this year, Mr. 3.4. Mm-hmm. He is literally Mr. 3. I have never seen a running back take a 15 to 20 yard run and turn it into a 3-yard run more than I saw what this dude did.
He's slow.
Year. He's so slow.
And also, if we're being really honest, Bob, like, I mean, this is a really cynical point of view, but I think it's inevitable. You saw it in this game. The 49ers, and I know we're talking a lot about the Cowboys, and the 49ers deserve their praise.
It's my swan song for.
I'm with you. I'm honestly, I'm happy to do it. I think you deserve it. It's your show. The future of the running back position is the positionless skill player lining up behind the quarterback.
100%.
You saw it.
100%.
You saw it in San Francisco, and it seemed like the most obvious thing in the world when you saw it. When you have Brandon Ayuk, when you have Deebo Samuel, when you have Christian McCaffrey, when you have guys that are fast, that can catch the ball, that can run, that can hit holes, you throw a lot of looks at a defense, and it's just better. And Ezekiel Elliott is a product of recently, but a bygone era. a running back that belongs.
He's a bruiser.
10 years ago, I mean, I don't think Eddie George is my all-time favorite running back. He's my all-time favorite running back that I ever watched play for the Titans. That Air McNair, Eddie George, Kevin Dyson, all those guys. I loved that team. I was 9 years old.
Madden 99.
Loved it. Eddie George was a beast in Madden, and that's literally why I liked him, but I loved watching him in real life too. I bought tickets to the Patriots playing the Titans so I could go see Eddie George in real life. Like I had an Eddie George jersey, even though I wasn't a Titans fan. Loved that guy. You get it. You remember loving like Barry Sanders back in the day because you just liked a player when you were a kid. He was one of my favorites. I think he's one of the best running backs of all time. He wouldn't survive in today's NFL. It just doesn't work.
One of those 3-4 year backs where like
he's like 6'4". It doesn't make any sense. Like he'd be a tight end in today's NFL.
It's such a difference. There's so much speed on the field today, right? In this era of the NFL, that having that difference maker out of the backfield that can run a route and create a mismatch. Because he's just so fast, and you have to put an outside linebacker on him. You have to put someone on him that's why Kittle's so good. That's why Kelce's so good. It's all about those mismatches that they create. Like you saw. I mean, the best example is Kittle this past weekend running a seam up the route, and he has Christian. What's his name? I can't even think of his name. Defensive tackle for the Cowboys is covering fucking George Kittle up the middle. Like that's why.
Well, we talked about this. We talked about this all year. Like the era of the Ray Lewis linebacker, like that's not a linebacker anymore. That's an edge rusher, or a defensive tackle even. That's not like the safeties are so fucking fast and mobile now. Linebackers are so fast and mobile now because it's a throwing game now. It's not smash mouth at all anymore. Like the swan song of that was that one Broncos season with Tim Tebow. That's like the last time we saw that kind of football. It doesn't work anymore. Everyone's too fast. Yeah. But point being, Ezekiel Elliott, that's all she wrote, folks. Somebody's going to have to take that contract on, or you cut him and you take the penalty. I don't know. But like, it sounds to me like you're thinking the best case scenario might be to take the cap hit by cutting him because you're not going to do that much restructuring of the entire team, and you use what you have left to maybe make one more gamble or run with Dak and get him one or two more weapons, hopefully.
Yeah, that's definitely the hope. I mean, listen, I don't even think the restructure is good. I think you wash your hands of Zeke just because of.
No, you have to do something. You have because if you cut him and you take that cap hit's huge.
And Pollard's got to be the guy, man. Pollard's got to be the guy in this offense. I know that injury, but
I don't think you're going to do that though. Is the problem? And I don't think you're going to do it.
We'll see. I know.
You know how they are.
I know. Listen, I am very aware that it's very possible that Ezekiel Elliott is RB1 on this team next year, and that's going to be a disaster. So we'll see.
The only thing Jerry Jones likes more than fucking up contracts for his team is blocking young black children from going into school. So moving on. I mean, I got the receipts. So
oh my God.
Moving on. Despite the Jim Crow era Cowboys, we have some.
All right, LeBron. All right, LeBron.
I mean, I got the pictures to prove it. He wasn't wrong. I mean, as much as I hate LeBron, that was like the most true thing he ever said. I hate him for basketball reasons. So it's because he's good. Nobody ever gave a shit about fucking Ilgauskas. You don't hate that guy. I love
Zildjian. I love Zildjian.
Yeah, you love him because he's goofy. Nobody gives a shit. So a lot of basketball references on this pod.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the Eagles Giants real quick because I think that there's like the least amount of nuance in this game. I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think the Giants are who we thought they were, right? I mean, I think they're a very well-coached team. I think that you and I love Dable. I think we're very high on him. I hope he either gets talent on that roster or somebody snatches him and he becomes like a great coach somewhere else. But as far as coaches go, and I've been saying this on this podcast for a few years now, put some fucking respect on his name. Brian Dable, like, great, but like, look at what the Eagles do to guys like Andy Reid. You know what I mean? Like, we're gonna get on to talk about this when we get on to talk about the Chiefs, but like, what's very clear is when you have a good coach in a system where you're not going to give him the weapons and the tools and the ability to get to his highest expectations, like the Eagles did with Andy Reid. you're wasting a fucking talent, and he's going to go build an amazing team somewhere else. So my hope is that, and I really do, I'm still banging the Andy Reid drum. I do think he's the most talented coach in the NFL, and like I think what he's done in Kansas City really proves that. But if the Giants can learn from anything, it's the team that beat them this past weekend's past mistakes. It's what the Eagles did to Andy Reid. I hope the Giants don't do to Brian Daboll, if that makes sense. They need to realize the talent that they have in the coaching room, and they need to go get him some people, because there's nobody on that team. Saquon Barkley is a great running back, but we just talked about running backs and what they are in the NFL now. The Eagles came out and tonked the fucking Giants.
Bro, they beat their
ass. Because
their ass.
They literally are man-to-man better than them at every single position, D tackle to offensive line, safety to running back, to quarterback to cornerback, to everything. They're better man-on-man across the entire roster. So what did we talk about? Yes, the Giants made a good run. Yes, they had a better record than their talent, the talent on the roster deserved. Yes, it was because of the coaching staff. But the playoffs find you out. That's what they're there for. That's the whole fucking point. So what happened? The Eagles are just a better team. Do I think the Eagles are a better team than everyone left in the playoffs? We'll talk about that. But like this was always going to happen, right? Like Daboll tried to get clever whenever Jalen Hurts came out. He was like, "Oh, y'all thought my shoulder was hurt?
Nope.
I'm good."
Nope. Yeah.
Dime, run, and we win. It was amazing. It was a great performance. I mean, I don't love the Eagles, but it was a great performance.
What really encapsulated how mismatched they were was the fact that Brian Daboll went for it on 4th and 8 in the fourth quarter.
Man. He was trying everything.
He knew that they didn't have a shot of stopping them. You know what I mean?
Because you got to throw momentum looks at a game like that, right? You got to try to, like how Doug Peterson beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl. It's like you got to try to like grab momentum. You got to try to get in the other team's head. You could tell he was trying to do that, but they were just so outclassed.
Yeah, for sure.
I felt bad for him, honestly. He did everything he could to throw different looks at the team, and you could tell he was just like trying to get creative, trying to get clever. But like the fucking Eagles are so good. Like I think I've been in denial about the Eagles all year, like because of how they're structured and how they're built as a team. I've been sort of waiting for them to get found out, but the only time that really happened was when Jalen Hurts was injured. So I don't know if they, I mean, this was the running joke on this show all year, was like, and nobody believes in the Eagles, but they're more likely than ever to win the whole fucking thing, right? Like Pat Mahomes' ankle is fucking hurt. The Bills got completely found out by the Bengals. We'll talk about that next. The 49ers are really the biggest hurdle that the Eagles are going to face. And like they should have beat the Cowboys worse, if we're being honest. So I don't know. The Eagles might go to the Super Bowl, man.
I had like a come to reality moment earlier today where I was like kind of sitting at work, just like thinking about football, thinking about how fucking shitty the Cowboys are, just kind of, reveling in my
Bobby's pity. Talking to himself again. Son of a bitch, motherfucker.
That really is what was happening, to be honest. But like, I just had this come to Jesus moment that I was like, I might have to watch the fucking Eagles in the Super Bowl again, man. Again.
Now you got to cheer for the team to beat your team. That's the situation you're in.
Yeah, right? And 100%, I have to, because they are more than likely going to the Super Bowl. The Eagles really are, besides the Bengals, who we'll get to, are the best team in the NFL. Those are the two, man. When you just watch them against a team that they should beat, like we keep seeing this, where it's like the Bills were good. They got their ass kicked. All these teams that are supposed to be elite teams, when they play teams that they're better than, that they should be beating by 2 or 3 touchdowns, they win by 7. They win by 3. You know what I mean? It's like a scrap fest. And the Eagles just come out and they beat these teams into the ground, man. And it's like week after week, you can't deny what's going on there. They have so many weapons. They are a fast fucking team from top to bottom. They're like what the Dolphins wish they were. You know what I mean? Like with AJ Brown, Miles Sanders, with Devontae Smith, like they just have so many weapons.
They're scary.
Goddard being back adds another element that they didn't have before. And
they also sort of look like what I love. You're like one of the only people I know that's actually going to understand what I'm about to say, but like they sort of look like like the villains in a football movie. Like if everything we've said about the 49ers this year.
with the pass rush, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
well,
With
but
that
I
tough
don't even
pass
mean that.
rush
I
too.
literally mean like the uniforms and how many of them have darkened visors on their helmets, and like the way that the kind of swagger they bring to the table. Like everything we've talked about the 49ers, but in reverse. Like the 49ers, like their red is popping this year. You know, like there's something about like their jerseys this year. It's just popping. Like the way Christian McCaffrey looks in a 49ers uniform, just popping. The way that the way that Bosa like kind of walks around, the way he's got his jersey tucked up. It's like they're the Captain America team, you know? And now we have this like fucking, it's like the
Black
Mighty
jerseys.
Ducks. It's like the Mighty
Black
Ducks,
jerseys.
right? Where it's like, oh shit, like here come the Russians, right? Like it's like dark green, dark visors. Jalen Hurts has got fucking mud running down his face and with the fucking like the fucking eye black. Like that's how they roll, right? And it's like I kind of like it. Like, it's just like I love a narrative, I love a story, right? And for these two teams to meet, I think gives us such a like what I love about the teams that are left, and I'm going to use this to transition into not only the final game of the divisional round, but also the previews. What I love about the teams that are left is like there's a lot of fucking like I'm gonna win this shit attitude in a lot of different teams. Like all the motherfuckers that are left really, really, really believe in themselves. So like moving on to the next game, Patrick Mahomes is yelling on the sidelines, like yelling on the sidelines to go back in, right? Like you just like
that was some gangster
like
shit.
okay, yeah, like that was just baller. Like I was like, like the thing is, right? I don't hate the Chiefs. I think that they're really fucking fun to watch. Like they're an AFC team. It doesn't really affect me, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and so on and so on to the end of time. I like watching the Chiefs. They're fucking fun. I like Travis Kelce. I like Pat Mahomes. I like Andy Reid, as you just heard. Pat Mahomes is going yelling at trainers. I want to go back in the fucking game. And trainers like, I don't know, man. I'm just doing my fucking job. He's yelling at motherfuckers.
Coach, when a coach tells you have to go get an X-ray before he puts you back in the game, like you're a gangster.
You're a beast. You're a beast.
And
like he must have said some shit in that locker room at halftime to come back out, because then he comes back out and he shits on him. It's dope. I love it, right? I love that from Pat Mahomes. So brief aside, because we don't have a ton of time left. Brief aside, all credit to the Jacksonville Jaguars. All credit for getting to where they are. I think they're going to be a lot of fun to talk about next season.
Yeah.
I think that Trevor Lawrence is going to be a great quarterback in this league.
Maybe a top 10 power rankings team.
I think they're going to be a top 10 power rankings team. I think we're going to be talking about Trevor Lawrence as a possible outside top 5 QB next year, probably at least a top 10 QB next year. If they do all the right stuff in the offseason and they give him the tools to win. I think he's got the attitude. I think I love how many fucking ballers we have in this league right now. I genuinely do. Love the guy. I hope that the 6 Jacksonville Jaguar fans that exist are happy. I hope that tiny market it deserves what they have, and I think they're going to be a good team for the first time in my life in a year. But that's not today. Today you came up against Andy Reid, possibly the greatest coach in the history of the sport. You came up against Pat Mahomes, gonna retire as one of the all-time best quarterbacks. Pat Mahomes on a mission. Because what was he saying on the sidelines, Bobby? He wasn't saying put me back in against the Jags. He was saying, I got to go see Joe Burrow in the fucking AFC championship game. That's what he was saying. It was written all over his face. He's like, that motherfucker has had my number. And he's coming up. He's coming up on everybody's social media a little bit more. He's talking that shit. He's doing little spinny throws from the end zone. He's doing all this fucking gangster shit. He's mad. Pat Mahomes is mad that Joe Burrow is trying to take his fucking chicken. That's a fucking fact, right? So Pat Mahomes is going, hey, put me back in that fucking game. I love this. I love this narrative. So you have that. You got Pat Mahomes. You got Joe Burrow. You got Jalen Hurts. You got fucking the baby.
Yeah,
you got the baby and Brock Purdy and fucking in the 49ers, who also has that swag.
Yeah.
Who's also
he's had that swag from the first week.
I love it. I love this generation of QBs, but I'm using this to transition to the next thing. I agree with you because it's a fact. It's a provable fact that Joe Burrow has Pat Mahomes' number. But I don't know, man. Pat Mahomes is Pat Mahomes. He's got some shit to say all of a sudden. That Chiefs team is good. I'm leaning that way because the Bengals going out and beating the Bills seem to me to be the most valuable bet of the weekend. Like I felt like I found a fucking gold nugget in 1889 in San Francisco when I saw that fucking plus that plus 290 or whatever I bet on them. I couldn't believe it. I was like, you guys have the Bengals losing.
I think
this
it was
shit?
the snow. I think it was the snow. I think that's
You
what
think it
made
was the
people
snow?
think
They're from
that.
Buffalo, motherfucker.
No, that's what I mean. I think that no, I mean like I
Oh, you
think
think
that's
that's why the
why
line was
the
like
line
that?
was so
Cincinnati's not fucking
bro.
warm, dog.
I couldn't believe it when I saw it either.
I was
Because
like, I couldn't press
listen,
place bet fast enough.
if there's a team that I have confidence in right now, right?
Right?
We can glance past that Jacksonville KC game because listen, Chad Henne beat you, Jacksonville. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so
That's
he did
becomes
a 98-yard
come on.
touchdown trying
Come on,
fucking
bro.
Chad Henne. That
Come
game
on.
was over right then.
Right. That's it.
I was like, you guys, no, listen,
but-
no, all credits to them. They went farther than they should
Did
have.
you just Chris Collinsworth me? Did you just Chris Collinsworth me?
What did I do?
You guys.
I did a little.
You guys.
Yes, you caught that.
Yeah, I did. That was good.
Thank you.
But yeah, bro. If there's a team I have more confidence in over anyone right now, and this has really been we've been talking about this since like week 13.
Since last season.
It's the Cincinnati fucking Bengals and Joe Burrow,
know.
man. I haven't seen a quarterback with this much swag since Tom Brady in his heyday. That's really where he's at.
Oh, it's better swag than that. Though.
It is better
because it's better swag because he's
so
not
awesome.
swagging. He's not swagging into the game to throw fucking 7-yard checkdowns all day. He's swagging into the game to like throw a fucking 40-yard bomb, fuck your wife, and then go home. Like that's what he's doing.
Joe Burrow's the man.
Joe Burrow's
he's
Mr. Steal Your Girl.
Like he is what every team wishes their fucking quarterback was.
Oh,
literally, you know what I mean? There isn't a team in the NFL, even the Chiefs, like that's where the Mahomes thing comes in now, is like even the Chiefs, I feel like at this point look at Joe Burrow and they're like, man, that dude's something, because he really is. Have you ever seen a quarterback with this much swag? Like,
bro, I borderline. This next line is a shout out to our good friend and often contributor Mike Marcangelo. I borderline when he walks onto the field hear Shawn Michaels intro music. It's like I hear that guitar.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh fuck! Like here comes Joe Burrow, and he is not here to fuck around. Like I love that guy.
What really encapsulates Joe Burrow as a quarterback is Pat Mahomes is our GOAT of this generation, right? He's the guy that everyone looks up to, that like everyone's like, this is the guy. And
he proves it week in, week out. He's a beast.
And guess what? Joe Burrow fucking owns this
he
dude.
Does.
He owns him. He owns him.
Joe Burrow doesn't give a fuck about your GOAT.
And that just like, right, he just comes in there and he's like, bro, no, not today.
Sorry.
And it's amazing. It really is.
I love him.
He took, so we'll talk about the Bills a little bit too. He took the Super Bowl champs, everyone's Super Bowl champs. You know what I mean? The Bills were the darling of this year. They were the darling. They had the DeMar Hamlin thing. They had all this stuff that like everyone's like, the Bills are the team of destiny. And then Joe Burrow came in the snow in Buffalo, where it's supposed to be like their domain. Like this is what they do. He came in there and said, fuck you.
Yeah, but on that note, Bob, he didn't just win the game. He came in and he won the game from the start. Like it wasn't like
drive one.
Yeah, yep. It wasn't like it was like a back and forth, Like Joe Burrow was like, I'm Joe Burrow. I'm here. You're not, chicken wings are not that hard to make. Shut the fuck up and go home. Like
I felt very good about my bet when I saw that slow motion spin during warmups.
Dude, I felt very good about my bet. You never
good.
Catch Vegas with their pants down like that.
You
never catch Vegas with their pants down like that. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
I was so confident. And I'll tell you something else. Josh Allen, like, I don't want to put the blame at his feet, because what was very glaringly obvious in that game is that the Buffalo Bills cannot run the ball.
They cannot
East, run the.
Right? They're Cowboys East. That's who the Bills are right now.
I don't know. You guys at least have Tony Pollard, and Josh Allen is infinitely more talented than fucking Dak Prescott.
Like the inability to change who they are, and like the inability to adapt to the playoffs.
Yeah. The Bengals are the opposite of that. The Bengals are the full blown opposite of that.
Exactly. Yes.
I couldn't. No, you're totally right. I mean, they couldn't run the fucking ball.
Yeah,
Like they could not run the ball.
They couldn't adjust to what the Bengals were throwing at them. The
No,
Bengals came
the
out
game
there
was
were like,
over from
"We're
minute
gonna
one.
kick your ass," and the Bills were like,
They
"Okay."
imposed their will. The
Okay.
commentator who was commentating on that, was it Romo?
It was Romo, yeah.
Yeah, Romo just kept being like, and I honestly think it's a miracle to me that he can tie his shoes in the morning. And he's one of the dumbest people I've ever heard speak. But he
He's
kept
really bad.
saying, "What?"
He's really bad this year.
No, he's a terrible commentator,
He's
Bobby.
really
Like
bad.
I don't understand. It's really
bad.
like, but you know what I like to. You know what I like to do though, when I get really mad at Tony Romo, when I go like, wow, you're really bad at this. Like, how could it possibly be worse? I remember that he replaced Phil Simms, who was the all-time worst sports commentator by far. Like,
he was so bad that first year with Tony Romo, everyone was like, Tony Romo's
wow,
the best
this is amazing.
ever.
Jim Nance towards the end of Phil Simms openly despised Phil Simms. Like
Yeah.
openly despised him. Like
He would
did
call him
not
out
mince
I remember
words.
that.
He was like, Phil, what are you talking about? Like that doesn't, you played this game. This doesn't make any sense, dude. Phil Simms, very, very lucky that he got the commentary contract that he got. Very lucky they put him on the end of the fucking table for the halftime show on CBS now. Very, very lucky that he had Bill Parcells as a coach to help him just steal a living as a quarterback, because he was about as good a quarterbacking as he was at commentating, and the answer to that is not very good.
Also very lucky the Buffalo Bills are the Dallas Cowboys up the East.
Yeah, right.
Because he wouldn't have a Super Bowl without it.
Right. Yeah, good point. Buffalo Bills love losing in Super Bowls during that era. So, yeah, Romo, good God, man. I like, he's got the face and voice and brain of a dumb guy. But he did make a good kind of point. I mean, it was kind of obvious, but the entire time he's like, they're just imposing their will, Jim. They're just imposing their will, I mean, he repeated himself like Rain Man every 10 seconds, but he was right. They just imposed their will.
He called it from the first drive. He's like, the Bills.
He was like, they're not reacting. They're not
right.
not changing. Exactly. And I just think the way that the Bills presented themselves in the AFC, the way that Joe Burrow presented himself in the AFC, the way that Patrick Mahomes has continued to present him and his team, and Andy Reid has continued to present that team in the AFC. The Bills going into next season, when we start talking about that, come the end of summer, the Bills are and Josh Allen specifically are the outside shot at this point. Like they're not number two. Sure. They're not the ones directly chasing the Chiefs anymore. They're just not. Like that's just the way it is. If the Bills had gotten through that game, they would have lost to the Chiefs. But the Bengals got through, and smart money's on them. So, history's on them. So, now we'll move on to that. Looking ahead to this, your heart of hearts. I understand the history here, but your heart of hearts, you're looking at this unbelievable game that's obviously going to be awesome. It's like, and I know I've said this a lot this year. I really. As much as the NFL does not give a shit about their players, and as much as they are letting brains melt, and they definitely wanted the teams to warm back up after Damar Hamlin died on the field, and all of this is true, and they're obviously monsters. God damn, do they put a good product on TV? I am addicted to it. I cannot help myself.
Wait for this weekend.
Like I am beside myself with how good football is. It's a perfect sport. It's a
perfect four teams to round out you know what I mean? Like,
that's what I'm saying.
I mean. It's they.
Oh man, it's so good, Bob. So in your heart of hearts, yes, Joe Burrow has Pat Mahomes' number and has in the past. Yes, the momentum is a little bit on their side. Yes, we're concerned about Pat Mahomes' ankle. The gambler in me thinks that that's going to move the line in Vegas, and I still want to bet on the Chiefs. What do you think?
No. I'm going.
You don't think so,
way, man? No,
you're riding with them Bengals,
bro. They feel so disrespected that this game is even in Kansas City, and this.
Okay, well, you lost a bunch of games at the start of the season. Like, what the fuck? Like, they look like shit at the start of the year. They just did.
But this Bengals team having any extra motivation to me is so scary for the rest of the NFL. That it's just like you look at what the most powerful thing is in football most of the time, and it's that no one believes in us attitude, man. We've seen it so many goddamn times. And I mean, look at the Bucks when they beat the Chiefs. You know what I mean? The Chiefs were the favorite. The Bengals last year beating the Chiefs. You know what I mean? Everyone was talking about that Bills Chiefs game and how that was really the AFC Championship game and blah blah blah. Bengals came out there and just dominated them in the second half. Having that attitude to me, man, in this squad with Joe Burrow. I know it's Pat Mahomes, but like I don't think that ankle injury can be understated.
You see him on the
I know he
sidelines though.
wasn't limping.
Did you see him on the
I
sidelines
know,
though?
I know.
That dude's a dog. He's
I know
got that
you're
dog
going
in him.
Chiefs, right? You've been riding them all year.
Dude, it's a fucking stay away bet for me, man. It like everything we've just talked about, like, has even convinced me more. Like, there's no smart money in this game because
Yeah,
every time I find myself thinking about betting on a game like this, I'll think to myself, oh well, Joe Burrow has had their number, and then I'll think, oh, but Pat Mahomes on the sidelines. Oh well, Andy Reid. I really think I think they're both great fucking teams, and I don't want to be rooting
So
against
maybe the over. Maybe the over.
Yo, so I actually, you know how I hedged against my Cowboys bet, and it actually saved me is I bet the under because the it was 42.5 or something like that, and I was like, yeah, defense. You know, if the Cowboys lose, it's a good hedge, right? Because if the Cowboys lose, they're going to lose like 19 to 12.
They lost me
right?
so much goddamn money.
I know,
I would have been rich.
But it's a smart hedge for all you future addicted gamblers out there. It's a smart hedge because we don't encourage addiction, and please see someone and call gambling.org, blah blah blah.
As I check my phone for my bets for tonight that I'm not even
watching.
watching.
The Celtics tonight?
You know, I did.
What's going on with them?
I don't know. I haven't watched. So
all right, whatever. It doesn't matter. So stay on top. But gambling. It was a smart hedge because I was like, well, if I bet the Cowboys and they win, I'm good. But if they lose, they're going to lose a defensive game. So I bet the under. And because you never want to just bet the under, right? You never want to be cheering against teams making plays. That's just fucking boring.
I hate betting the under. Yeah.
Yeah. But if you can hedge the under, you can hedge the under. If you think that if your bet is going to lose, it's going to lose a certain way. So you're riding with the Bengals. I think I'm not sure. I am not sure. So I'm not going to bet it. But if I had to hang my flag on either one, I'd probably hang it on the Chiefs. But I probably want the Bengals to win. Like I like both, but I think I like one more. Let's just end it now with the Philadelphia Eagles against the 49ers. What I want from you is I want you to tell me what the game looks like with the Eagles winning, because I think I know what you're going to say. It's going to be a fucking rout. And what the game looks like with the 49ers winning. It's one of those games where I feel like we're going to know who's going to win in the first quarter. You know, like the way that the game shapes up almost immediately, right? Because both teams have a way to win. Yeah,
I completely agree. Where if the 49ers win, it's going to be McCaffrey has 2 first quarter touchdowns, or maybe 2 first half touchdowns, and the Niners get out to like a 21-7 lead, a 17-7 lead, and the Eagles can never quite catch up. If the Eagles win, it's 17-0 Eagles from the get-go, right? Yeah. It's quick.
They smash them in the mouth.
It's a big play to AJ Brown up the seam. It's a big play to Goddard.
But I don't see that happening. I don't see that happening.
I don't either. I think the Niners win this game. I do.
I do too.
I do too. In the mouth, bro. I think the Niners win this game.
I do too. I mean, are you being a little bit of a homer though? Because I kind of feel like they are though. I'm with you.
I am being a homer. There's no doubt about that. Where, listen,
is it hope or is it? Do you think with like rational evidence?
It's both. It's both. Where listen, I think the Eagles and the Cowboys would have been a great game because I think they're very alike. I think the
Cowboys would have had
very fast.
If the Cowboys didn't have to come through San Francisco, I feel like they would have had a better shot at beating the Eagles.
If we had to play the Eagles for sure. I completely because we're very similar teams where it's like we have big play tight ends, we have a big wide receiver.
You're divisional rivals, so you've seen each other twice.
And the
would have been a great game.
The thing with the Eagles that scares me is the biggest thing for them is their pass rush. If their pass rush is dominating you, there's nothing you can do about it. You're fucked. But the 49ers have the right kind of team and the right kind of squad to expose that where Matador defense. Right. If they run those screens,
make them pressure you, make them overrun the ball and then get your skill, get outside the ball out and quick to your skill players. They're
going down the seat, bro. Exactly. Yeah. So that's what the 49ers are going to do to them. Right. And if it's successful, I hate to be this guy because I love close games. I don't think this game's going to be close. I think it's a blowout either way.
I think if the 49ers win, they win by a touchdown.
Yeah.
I think if the Eagles win, they win by 20. I I think that we're done with the rounds where it's like, oh, someone missed an extra point. Oh shit, that was a blown coverage. Like we're now into elite territory where it's like who either the 49ers win their way or the Eagles win their way. And the way the 49ers win is they win by stifling the offense, making defensive plays at exactly the right time. I think Shanahan's the better coach, which I think might edge it a little bit. Like I've been really high on him all year for good reason. I mean,
Sirianni is such a fucking douchebag.
He's a douche, but he's not a bad coach. I mean, look,
no,
let's
he's
be
not.
honest.
He's not.
I mean, I agree with you. It's like Doug Peterson. Like he's a fucking tool, but he's a good coach. And we lamented all year when we weren't down to 6-8 teams to talk about. We lamented all year how many idiots are running fucking NFL franchises from the sidelines here. Yeah. So we're thankful, I think, for good coaches a little bit, even if they are a little douchey. I think I do miss Mike McDaniel though. I think that Shanahan's the better coach. I think you saw that in the Cowboys game very clearly. I think that edges it. And I think that the 49ers win 31-24 or something along those lines, right? Because like a good defense versus a good offense, the good defense bends, but it doesn't break. You're not shutting out the Eagles. You're not keeping them to single-digit points. It's just not happening. We're not in that era of the season anymore. It's just not going to happen. So you got to score more than them. And I think that you got to manage the game better. If the Eagles win, man, they're scoring 40. You know what I mean? Like and this defense is going, what the fuck? I thought we were good, you know?
There's really, when you think back on this season, right? If we were to do like a recap, I bet you throughout the season, the most positive things we said were about these 4 teams. And
I don't know if we were that high on the Eagles, to be honest with you.
But they were number 1 on my power rankings for most of the
season. Fair.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So like, yes, we didn't have faith in them to actually pull it off.
I still don't.
throughout the season, these were the best 4 teams. I don't think there's any doubt in that. But I was going to ask you, for me, you already know who it is. It's the Bengals. Who are you most confident in out of all 4 teams? And just eye test watching football, what team do you actually think can pull this off and win this?
It's a really hard question. I think you can guess what my answer is going to be. It's super close. If it wasn't for the youth and inexperience at the quarterback position for the 49ers, I would be saying the 49ers. I really would.
Yeah.
It's still the Chiefs.
It's
still the Chiefs. I mean, I really get that that's not like a very fun take. And it's not like, I get that it's the old money like perspective on things. And I get that it's a little bit like, well, they're just clearly the best team. Like if we were just doing the Madden ratings, they're just clearly the best team. But I think you as in a situation where you have 4 really good coaches, Andy Reid's the best coach. I think there's in a situation where you have 4 really good quarterbacks, Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback. I think in a situation where you have 4 really good overall teams, if you take the 10 best players from each team, I still think the Chiefs have the 10 best players. Like I think they have multiple running back options. They have the best tight end in the league. And I think that's huge in today's NFL. They have very, very solid wide receivers. Sure, they don't have Tyreek Hill anymore, but like Juju Smith-Schuster is like making an impact. I think that Valdez-Scantling is very good. I think that their defense is underrated, if that makes any sense. Like I think that it's a decent defense that doesn't get talked about enough. Like I think it's really well schemed. It might not have the Nick Bosa's or Minka Fitzpatrick's or you know like it doesn't have the studs that your elite defenses have that we've been having a lot of fun watching to this point, but it's got a bunch of 7 out of 10 guys. And I think that is like a very Super Bowl winny type of defense when you have the kind of Chiefs offense that you have. In saying that, the logical wanna be right on the record in the microphone version of me wants to say the Chiefs. And number 2 for that version of me would be the 49ers. But I have to say, if I was to say who I want to win this whole thing, is Joey B, baby. Like I want him to just do it. I do. I love the guy. I love the fact that him and Jamar Chase have been fucking boys since college and been sick as a tandem since college. I love the fact that he's like talking that shit. I love the fact that he has the number of the best team in the NFL. I love the fact that he is here to stay, and we're going to be watching him be like, we're watching this next era emerge now, like it's happening right before our eyes. And as much as I had so much fun in the Drew Brees, Ben Roethlisberger, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Peyton Manning era, that's gone now. It's gone. And it's
This
time
is way
for
better, by the way. Way better. There's so much more swag.
the product
There's
is
just
just
so much.
better. The product
There's
is
just
better.
so much better. But like Tom Brady, Ben Roethlisberger, all those dudes were so plastic and had no personality, and like they're all like, you know what I mean? Like the team got, bro. These dudes don't give a fuck, and it's amazing.
Yeah, they don't really care about their media training as much, which I like.
Yeah.
And I think what we're seeing too is like these are people who understand that their brand matters. They understand that if their brand is singular, then they make more money and they have more fans. And you're not in the TV era. It's not as important anymore when Aaron Andrews sticks a microphone in front of your face as it is what kind of TikTok thing you hit. You know what I mean? Like what kind of trend you hit. And Joe Burrow, Joe Swag, Mr. Steal Your Girl, he is the TikTok quarterback. Like that guy makes content on his own, like just by being himself. So you watching him is just so much fun. And like if you don't like him, you're either a Steelers, Ravens, or Browns fan, or you hate Joy. Those are your two options. Like if you don't like, and listen, Steelers, Ravens, Browns fans, you're more than welcome to hate him. That's your prerogative. Like you're welcome to it. You should, in fact, if you're being a good fan of your team, you should lie to yourself for the next 10 years about Joe Burrow and think he's a douche. That's what you should be doing. You owe that to your franchise. But if you're anyone else, you got to be riding this train, baby. It's fun.
Joe Burrow.
All right. On that note,
yeah, that's it.
Think it's the Chiefs. Hope it's the Bengals.
So actually, one last question on the Chiefs. Right? How close are they to becoming? So they're almost underachievers if they don't win it this year, right? This isn't. So everyone thought this was their decade, right? This was supposed to be the Chiefs era. If they don't win a Super Bowl this year, they just have one and a lot of failed trips. Am I wrong?
Yeah, I mean, it's so tough, right? Because like you're probably going to have all those Andy Reid people coming out of the woodwork again and being like, we'll see when he's clearly a fucking guru,
Yeah, he's
and
very good.
And it's annoying. It's like
every team would be lucky to have a fucking Andy.
Dude, it's just stupid. Like it's people just like looking at it's people who visit the sport say that, the people who come and go, not people who really live it and understand it that say shit like that. Like, and I just don't take that opinion seriously. They're not going anywhere though, Bob. Like if they don't win this year, they're still going to be sick like next year. It's just the way it is. And I love the competition. I think the Bills are way more likely to get painted with that brush though. Like what's up in Buffalo? Like they should have won this year. They should have at least gone to the show. They got beaten in the divisional round, dude. Like for all the talk, wagon. Like, are we going a little easy on them then? If we shit on the fucking Chiefs for not winning a Super Bowl this year, are we going a little easy on the Bills? Because motherfuckers, what did I say at the start of the season? Motherfuckers were comparing fucking Josh Allen and fucking and Pat Mahomes this year right off the bat. For what? How did he enter that conversation? Yeah. How? He's talented, but Joe Burrow's the guy in that conversation. That's very clear. And I was saying this at the start of the year, right? So I don't know, man. Help me out here. Like I guess my honest answer to that question is yes, they're underachievers for what they have. Yes, but it's not because they're not good enough. It's because all these other motherfuckers sprouted up, right? Like, are the 2000s Patriots winning as many Super Bowls if Joey B's around? Are they winning as many Super Bowls if the NFL looks the way it looks right now? If there's this much talent, you know what I mean? Like, it's hard to win a fucking Super Bowl, dude. Like, that just is.
It's definitely harder now than it was before.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. There's so many good teams. There's so much talent.
No, you're right about that. Okay, it's just I heard that narrative a few times this week, and I was like,
so lazy.
It's like, can we really? It's the Patriots. Honestly, like I hate that we're on a Boston sports podcast because like the Patriots really ruined that, right?
Yeah.
Like it's really they
Because that's the
became
expectation now. Is what you
that's
mean.
right. Is like
Which
if
is,
you're
and
a
that was
dynasty,
like,
you got
that
to
was a fucking
dominate. You got to
anomaly.
win. Such an anomaly. So
You know,
I guess
I
that's
mean,
what it
that
comes
was an
down to.
incredible feat what they did in that era.
Yeah,
Like that was insane.
you can't expect anyone to ever come
No,
close to that again. I mean,
no.
you look at like the best dynasties ever. It's like 2 or 3 in 4 years. The Patriots
Yeah.
won 6 and fucking 12, whatever.
Yeah. And also, like, you know, as annoying as it is, that will probably never be replicated. So
Right.
if you, how can both things be true? If you look at that era and you know that that'll never be replicated, how can you also hold teams to that standard? You know what I mean? Like that doesn't make any sense. So I think we all just need, I think you hit the nail on the head actually right there, because I think we all need to sort of recalibrate our expectations.
Yeah.
Be happy that there's a shitload of competition in both divisions. Be happy that we have dogs at the quarterback position in a quarterback driven league. Be happy that we have unbelievable skill players still left in this playoffs. And quite frankly, just be happy that you get to watch the best show on TV every weekend. And it sounds like we work for the NFL because, and honestly, I think they're monsters, but goddamn if they don't have me hooked. They gave me a little baggie through the fence in elementary school, and I haven't stopped putting it right in my veins ever since.
It's like the nation's pharmaceutical companies.
Oh
You know
my
what I
God, they
mean? Like
have
they
me.
got
They
me
have
hooked,
me.
bro. But
They
like
have
they're
me.
monsters. Yeah.
I'm crushing up the NFL and sprinkling it on my blunts at night. It's just the way it is. So, on that note, from myself, from the real BK Bub Kelly,
One more. We got
wonderful.
fucking one more NFL show this year. How fucking sad is that?
No, we're
2
doing a
more.
Super Bowl show.
2 more. So 2 more.
We're doing a
We'll do
Super Bowl
pre and
show.
post. Okay. So pre and post. Yeah.
We're doing it. We're doing a Super Bowl show for sure. So for the third to last NFL show of the MTP season, what was the power ranking show? What was the wild card round show? What is the divisional round show? And what next will be the conference championship show and Super Bowl preview show?
It's a good rundown.
Yeah. From myself, DK Sizzle, from the real BK Bob Kelly, from our wonderful, eccentric, beautiful producer, Craig D'Alessandro, and all of us here at the MTP family. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Adieu.